What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Riders. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Josh, horrible.
Yeah, before we started recording, you were regaling me with tales of...
not even those
lore.
tales.
Okay.
Not even the nightmares of home ownership once again. Josh, this is the most devastating of all things.
Oh, no.
So, slightly before we started recording this,
Uh-huh.
I decided to attempt the impossible and read a book.
Wow, you are a professional reader, according to your name in our Discord.
I'm a noted professional reader. Words are very easy for me. I never have issues reading anything.
Yep.
So to try to enhance my brains and make myself a smarter, more intelligent person, I found the most interesting books to me that I feel like is really going to help me move forward in life. So I bought the 12-pack of the Five Nights at Freddy's books, the Tales from the Pizzaplex ones, I think. There's like two different series, but I bought the box set of one of the two series.
Nice.
So that's step one. So the books, I'm going to double check. I'm walking away as I talk. I am reading the Fazbear Frights books. Those are the ones. That's the second season, so to speak, of the books. So
just for everyone playing along at home, this looks like the second coming of Goosebumps. Like I'm looking at
my God, it so is.
They're very short books. It's all in a slipcase that like has the Five Nights at Freddy's bear, whatever his name is. I forget, Fazbear on the cover.
Josh says the Five Nights at Freddy's bear, and then goes, "What's the bear's name?"
Freddy Fazbear. I got there. We got there. Well, you know, like I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese. What's the mouse's name? Who knows? Okay, so you got the box set. You and all the other kids at the Scholastic Book Fair.
Goddamn right. Those are the good days. So the thing with the books is there's been hot debates throughout the years. And I guess these were the years before I decided to read the books because I got into the game super late and knew all the lore ahead of time. But there's always been this weird thing where like the books never really counted as canon until all of a sudden they possibly did. And then there's pieces of all the stories and all the books kind of thing. So the way the books work are it's 3 mini stories that are just assorted stories that are basically like little Goosebumps stories.
Uh-huh.
But they could or could not be tied to the Five Nights at Freddy's world directly. Like there's times where they reference like Chica the animatronic, and there's times they just talk about going to Freddy's. There's times where it's just scary stories or just stories about things. So they're all like this weird toss-up of like maybe they count, maybe they don't. And then all of the books have the epilogue is the ending of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all of them have an epilogue, which is a 12-piece story that goes across all 12 books, which is about the Stitch Wraith, which is basically like this monster that's gathering evil parts because that's how like angst and anger and stuff is what makes William Afton and like the main monster guys in Five Nights at Freddy's work right now, which is this whole other side thing, which is fine, but it's no big deal. So I got the books. I'm reading through the books. The ones that tie into the game more are like super fun to read. Some of the other ones are just interesting stories. So I've been having a lot of fun going through the books. I haven't read an actual book for a very long time. So even just like sitting down quietly and reading a book has been like a fun thing for me. So lo and behold, I read the one story today, and it's all about a kid named Toby, Josh. A kid named Toby that's now canon in the Five Nights at Freddy's verse.
Whoa.
So I was very excited. He is the second best gamer in his household. His brother always kicks his ass in all the games. So now this Toby is a gamer. And I was like, wow, this is fun. This is kind of funny. Like, ha ha ha, I'm going to roll with this. At one point, they stopped calling him Toby and start calling him Tobes. No. And I got even more excited because that's what most of my friends call me. And I guess I never really thought it was a common like nickname to Toby. I just thought it was something all my friends made up. It was just a funny thing. So I was like, well, this is even more direct. This is like, it's me. This is awesome. He wants to beat this stupid game. And Josh, the motherfucker gets taken over by Bonnie the bunny, which is one of the Five Nights at Freddy's things.
He's going to die horribly. That's the only.
So the whole story is like him, he gets like it's like kind of like Peter Pan. Like he gets like an evil shadow attached to him. That's
Uh-huh.
from him breaking the Bonnie the bunny game. And at the end, once he realizes he doesn't have to hate the world and can lighten up a little bit, the shadow's not as evil, but the game that he was playing is still broken. So he's like, fuck you, game. I'm going to beat you for real now. Now I let go of all my evil anger inside. And you know how he beats the game, Josh? He
I
fucking
don't.
jumps on the freaking joystick thing and impales himself to death. And the end of the story is like, with blood coming out of Toby's mouth, he was like, I finally won the game. And then the world faded to black. So Toby the
That's not.
gamer, when my freaking Five Nights at Freddy's dreams, decides to just kill himself on a video game because video games are too hard.
Hopefully, Toby, the real life gamer, knows that that's not how you win at video games.
What if
Like,
it's a reality? What if it's like an ARG and they're like, only the blood of God Gamer T will awaken the beast, and I have to jump on a joystick and kill myself?
yeah, maybe. I I would hope you'd realize there's like better, easier things to impale yourself on. Like knives exist, you know. You can just use that instead. Yeah, a joystick just is so blunt. It just feels like it'd be a real challenge to get the impaling done. But
Well, like it was more so just because it was specific to the gaming thing,
yeah,
which
I
is
know.
why I had to choose the game. And then mainly the reason I said I was upset to wrap this all the way back around is, of course, the one time I read a book, it somehow involves me being a gamer and then jumping in an arcade game to kill yourself. And I was like, this is what I get for trying to read for the first time. It's all just against me.
Yeah, I think it's prophetic. Personally, it sounds like it's definitely gonna lead to some things. I would like to read you some reviews for this book collection, if I could, real quick.
Please do.
First review comes from
It's
Mom.
it's the good ones, right?
Yeah,
Fazbear Frights,
it's the one.
not Into the Pizzaplex, where the hell the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
one's called.
it's the ones you're reading. Fazbear's Frights, the box set specifically. The first review comes in from mom_of_2. She said, "My daughter loved these books. She couldn't put them down. Great for a Five Nights at Freddy's fan."
Yeah, see.
This next one comes in from someone named Mrs. Just Mrs. The headline of her review is just also Mrs. And she rated it 5 stars and said, quote, "I'm sure my grandson will enjoy this series." But she also said would not recommend. So I'm very confused by her whole rating system. Both 5 stars and also would not recommend.
Maybe she just doesn't like it. Because, like,
Maybe.
so, only because Josh and I like to age ourselves. So, if you don't know what Goosebumps are, like, it got turned into a TV show and like some movies recently, and they're kind of trying to bring it back again. But basically, it was baby's first horror story.
Yeah.
Where R.L. Stine was a quote unquote horror writer, but he basically did like to what Stephen King was for adults, he was for children.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I heard
And
yeah, so basically, he wrote for kids, but there was like two different. I got sidetracked there for a second. But wrote for kids of all ages, and Goosebumps were the preteen books, and then there was Fear Street, which got turned into a Netflix show and some other shit, and they were for like the older teens. So I actually grew up reading R.L. Stine's books as they got more and more scary, basically. But yeah, Goosebumps are basically like for like baby's first scary story. Like, oh no, like the clown monster chased us around the house, and then everything ended up okay, and sometimes it didn't. And one time a kid turned into a plant, and that's why his dad was acting weird because his dad was a plant too. And oh my god, that's so scary and stuff like that.
yeah, I definitely was the perfect age for Goosebumps coming up, like for the original series. And they were actually like genuinely scary to me. Like I don't know if you thought that, but like maybe I was like just young enough reading them that I still remember things about Goosebumps and being scared about things that were in Goosebumps. But like not scared enough that like I didn't want to watch it anymore or I didn't want to read it anymore, but they definitely left an impression. I'm trying to find the one in particular that scared me the most.
So like
Oh,
Goosebumps never.
One Day at Horrorland
That was a
was
good one. There's like
yeah, it
four of
was
those too.
yeah.
But some of the stories eventually got sequels and then quadquels and everything. The Fear Street
A
ones,
Night in Terror Tower. That was the one that scared me the most.
I think that was just like one of the amusement park ones, like scary amusement park.
No, it's like someone's stuck in a tower, the Tower of London, and there's like an executioner who's like wandering around trying to kill him. It's crazy.
Well, then you say like you do not like scary stuff in general.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
feel
only
like over our
recently.
friendship, you've
Yes,
flip flopped on the scary stuff.
absolutely. I have. Yeah, it's within the past. I will say 2 to 3 years that I have started enjoying scary movies and stuff. So yeah, it is very recent, and I don't really know what changed in me, but I used to not ever watch scary movies and stuff, and then at some point they became more funny to me than scary for the most part. And if I can stay in that mindset, I can watch them and enjoy them. But yeah, it's pretty new to me still. So yeah, the being too scared for Goosebumps is definitely in character for me for most of my life.
Yeah, so like just comparatively then. So the three stories that were in the mini book tonight, the Toby the Gamer one was, I guess, like the moral of the story was don't like he was angry at the world and kind of like outcasted himself, where he like turned himself into a shadow. So of course, like a shadow monster got him, and then when he tried to break out of the shadow, he cast over his life. It was too late, kind of deal. So I guess I was kind of like, hey, don't be miserable, or like try to be more understanding of stuff. The one was two movie students in college made a film about a quote unquote animatronic Blackbird because it was supposed to be like a reference to Five Nights at Freddy's, but not directly. And then the one kid looked like was presented as a awkward looking kid, and his friend was like a bully in high school. So the bully friend was like, "Oh, I used to make fun of these people, blah blah blah. I was a piece of shit to everybody." And the awkward kid was like, "Wow, it's really kind of garbage. Like, stop laughing about that." And then the nerdy kid, quote unquote, turns into the Blackbird animatronic and scared the bully until the bully found the first person that he ever bullied, apologized to her, and then like everything was okay again. So it's just like a don't be a bully tale. And then a lot of them are usually like that kind of shit where it kind of ties into the Freddy stuff, but not really. And then the last one was just a really random story about like a kid dying of cancer while his dad was gone.
Oh
And there was
god.
no ties to Five Nights at Freddy's. There was no animatronics. There was no anything. It was just kind of like a sweet but sad story about a kid dying while his dad was in the military. And that's just like unbeknownst to anything. And like just the last line was like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, the kid's doll might have ran away."
Oh, by the way, just so it ties in with world just a little bit. Here's
Yeah.
this happening. Five Nights at Freddy's. This is gonna sound mean, and I don't really mean it to be mean because I enjoyed the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and I've enjoyed what I've watched of like people playing the game and stuff. So I don't hate Five Nights at Freddy's, but Five Nights at Freddy's is the worst series that I've ever seen be this protective of their lore. Because like you're talking about like, well, like, oh, they're like kind of tied in, but like not really, and like they're sort of part of canon, but like not really. I was like,
So
just say they are. Like it's so weird that like being that protective of Five Nights at Freddy's of all things.
and so like so the craziest thing about that, and then we'll get off Five Nights at Freddy's talk because I think I did this to Josh like in October as well. So the guy who made the game has the main credit on all the books.
Scott Cawthorn.
Yeah. So that's why the thing was always, oh, the books have to be canon because his name's on it. And it's like in the Five Nights at Freddy's thing. And then at one point, like in the beginning, he was real wishy washy on like, no, the books don't really count. Like they're like thematically the same, but they don't really count. They're not like they're two different universes. And like somewhere in the past year or two, he was like, "Oh no, the books count." Like I never specifically said they didn't count, but like they do, but they don't. So then people go back through all the books again. And they're like, "Well, if this is this, and then this has to be this person in the games, and then this timeline is this timeline." And it's a really weird thing that seems impossible to keep up with, which is why I listen to smart YouTubers tell me what everything actually means because I can't process those kind of games.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. I just realized that yep, that's right. The Five Nights at Freddy's fan fiction community is probably insane, right? I just
I
looked
can
it
only
up.
imagine.
There are 31,000 Five Nights at Freddy's fanfics on Archive of Our Own right now. That is ridiculous. Yeah, I bet they're ridiculous. Yep. I'm doing some quick scanning and they are as ridiculous as I would have imagined. I don't know.
Josh,
Crazy series. Yes, Toby.
speaking of being ridiculous, have you seen egg prices recently?
Brother, have I? Yeah, I currently whenever I make an
I own
egg,
an egg.
I do. I own upwards of 10 eggs. I ate 2 yesterday. No, I feel like I'm, like, being super bougie now whenever I make eggs in the morning. You know, it's like, "Oh, yes. Why, yes, I can afford eggs. Why, thank you."
So the crazy thing is, I noticed the other day, a 30 pack of eggs, which is the size I usually buy. It used to be like $5 or $6 years and years and years ago
Yeah.
before the swine flu took out all the chickens. And the other day I noticed it was $20 for 30 eggs, which still seems crazy to me. And then I thought about that, like that value mathematics we have to do there, and like, is buying 30 eggs really worth $20? And well, I can't really confirm that or not. What I can confirm is that we have a Patreon. It's only $3 a month instead of
It's
like
true.
$20 for eggs. And you'll get way more use out of the Patreon for only $3 than you would from the eggs, even if it's like sustenance and protein for your body.
Please support Toby and Mai's egg habit and sign up for our Patreon so that Toby and I can afford the eggs that we so desperately desire.
I can't eat eggs unless people go to patreon.com/the Kamen Riders, where we have hundreds of hours of watch alongs where we watch Sentai or tons of old Kamen Rider series and talk over them, kind of like Mystery Science Theater, like a watch and react, we call them. We have some random unboxing videos on there. We have a Minecraft server that people can play on. And Minecraft servers also have chickens that lay eggs. So you can like get virtual eggs for way cheaper than you can real life eggs.
You can. Yeah. Oh my god. Also, when you throw an egg in Minecraft, sometimes a chicken appears, and that's never happened in my kitchen. It's only resulted in a mess.
Ha-
So, again, please sign up for the Patreon. I have so many messes to clean up because I've tried to make so many chickens. I need your $3. It's a disaster over here, okay?
Help
Give me
Josh
your
clean up
money.
his house.
Help me clean up my house. Give me money, and I will continue to give you funny jokes about tokusatsu. Thank you. Toby, we have a Discord associated with that Patreon as well, as you are well aware. And in that Discord, we have an episode questions channel. And if you are in that Discord, you can ask us questions that we will answer on this here podcast. We have a couple of those right now I want to go over quickly, Toby. The first one comes in from our friend Kieran and was asking us for Valentine's Day, which happened fairly recently here, if we have any good/bad Valentine's stories. Do you have any that you would like to share?
I feel like they all blend together in a way that like I don't think anything stands out as super good or super bad.
I've got
And
one.
the one story that I was trying to think about how to tell,
Uh-huh.
it sounds it actually sounds too absurd to try to explain. So I'm going to keep that one close to the chest, I guess.
Okay. Mine, I'm probably not going to be able to tell it in a way that actually sounds funny, but I want everyone to know that this happened a very long time ago, and I think it's very funny now, so it's okay if we all laugh at my pain. Just to preface all this. But when I was in high school, I liked a girl very much, and she was kind of part of our like overall friend group, kind of. And I had asked her out to the movies on Valentine's Day, okay? And somehow me asking her to the movies became a group movie outing with like us and kind of all of our friends, which is fine. We would go out and do stuff together as friends a lot. But I figured like, hey, it's still Valentine's Day. It's still me and this girl. Like we're gonna sit together at the movies and like, hey, who knows what's gonna happen, right? So I bought her a rose beforehand to like give her a thing for Valentine's Day. And we go get to the movies. I give her the little rose. I'm kind of weird and awkward, I'm sure, in like the lobby of the movie theater. We go in and we sit down and we watch a normal movie, and I think it goes okay and stuff. And then while we're in the movie, I notice that she's holding hands with one of my friends on the other side of me. She's sitting beside me and holding his hand on the other side. I was like, "Oh, this is awkward. This is not how I wanted this evening to go." And then later we go out to the parking lot, and I'm kind of in. I think I'm telling myself that I didn't actually see the hand holding, even though I know really deep down in my heart I did see it.
You were
But I'm
actually
still.
gaslighting yourself.
I
Is that what you're telling me?
truly, yes, I truly am on the way out of this, being like, listen, maybe it was just it was dark in there. Maybe I didn't see it. I don't know. And we go out to our cars, and I'm thinking that she's gonna like leave with me, right? Because like I'd kind of invited her on this date, and through a series of events of us like standing in the parking lot for a little bit, she ends up getting in the car with that other guy like to leave, and then as I'm leaving, they're making out in his car as I'm like pulling away sadly. So I got maybe the most incredible like cuck story that you could possibly have on Valentine's Day with these other two people. And it was insane. So it was one of my darkest high school moments, but it's a very funny story now because hey, it worked out. I'm happy, and I think they're probably weird and sad, but it that that's probably my darkest, saddest Valentine story for sure.
The only like I think the shortest like synopsis of my funny story is when you and I used to always watch Megaforce or Super Megaforce, whatever it was,
Yeah.
and the whole Yellow Ranger thing.
Uh huh.
The person I was around at that time knew how much I liked the Yellow Ranger. So I got a Valentine's card from the quote unquote from the Yellow Ranger, which was just her writing things.
That's kind of cute though.
It was. It's just funny. And it even ties to this. So.
I thought it was gonna be like, and then there was some role play that happened. I thought that's where that story was going.
No, there was just dramatics later on in the day. But that
Okay,
was at least like the funny part of it.
that is funny. I know you like this person so much, but like, here's a pretend letter where I'm not me anymore. I'm this person now. That's great. So yeah, Valentine's is a traumatic event. I don't envy young children attempting to exist on Valentine's. You know, that's such a weird, horrible thing to like have to feel the pressure for. Like it's hard enough like liking people and trying to tell people you like them and figure out relationships when you're young. And then like Valentine's Day comes up and that's like so much extra pressure on top of it. So
Well,
yeah, it's rough.
especially in the old, I'm going to assume. I was gonna say I'm gonna assume that the children are past this, but they're probably not because all the same like Valentine's cards are always in the stores. Did you in elementary school always do the thing on Valentine's Day when everyone made a quote unquote card box
Oh yeah.
and then everyone in the room had to buy everyone a Valentine's?
Yeah, I can tell you that still happens because my daughter did that in preschool this year.
Okay.
So that's
I
a
always
thing.
thought that it's both nice so that I guess to word this the most polite way I can. I guess it's nice that everyone gets a card because there's always people that I guess we would call like are outcasted or like the ones that don't fit in and in
Yeah.
school. And like at least they get stuff and that's fun. But I feel like on those days when you're little, if you have like your quote unquote crush, I feel like you still go extra with it and it's just as embarrassing when there's like 30 people putting cards in a box and the one just says like, "Oh, you're my favorite though, by the way," and like gets all like weird and then like everyone feels awkward because the other person reads it out because they're like so shocked that like someone wrote these extra words and hey,
Yeah.
why'd you put an extra piece of candy on mine? What the hell's going on here? And
Yeah, in my day, the meta that I would run in these things is like you'd go buy the like, you know, 30 pack of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Valentines or whatever, and they would all say something along the lines of like, "Cowabunga, you're pretty cool, dude," or whatever, and you'd just, sign them randomly, hand them out to your friends. But what I would do is I would go through them all and sort of rank them in order of romanticness. And I was like, whichever one seems the most like not platonic, like which one seems the actual like most romantic, I would give to the girl that I really liked. But then you're giving one to everybody, right? So if you ever get called on it, you can just be like, nah, I just signed them randomly. I don't know which one you got. But if the girl was like, oh my god, Josh, I got this card from you, and I believe it too. You are also cowabunga to me, bro. Then I would be like, "Oh my gosh, we should date forever."
I
But
feel I feel like well, I know I did what the story you're telling me. Like I know I did that as well. I also think that if I picked the one that was like the most honorific of all, I feel like I would only give one of those to that one person
yeah,
and give
yeah.
everyone else the rest of them, and then it was like extra special.
I remember
And,
doing
and
that
I
too.
and I can't guarantee this is what I did, but I feel like when you tell me that story, deep down in my soul, I feel like that's what I did.
Same. Well, I remember doing the same thing. I'm just like, "This one's the special one, and I'm gonna try to only give one of those out if I can avoid it." Because you're always gonna have some extras, so it's like, I'm gonna try to make all the extras the rest of this version, this one, so that only one person gets the special one. Yeah, kids are weird, Valentine's is weird.
Kids are weird. Josh, I think this is a fake Yellow Ranger card. But someone made this Yellow Ranger card that says, "Don't ever go hide change, Valentine."
Yeah, I think that's fake as well. Yeah.
I can't find the ones that I received, and that's
That's sad. That is very sad.
I do think I kept the mural that was crafted for me of them though. It's probably packed away somewhere still.
Nice. Toby, our last question in the episode questions chat comes in from Brochizo in the Discord. Brochizo would like to know if you could get a tokusatsu tattoo, what would it be? What would you want to have permanently on your body that's toku related?
I, none of this, I
Yeah,
guess.
please no.
I,
I guess we
I'm
should tell
not.
people like you're a person who has tattoos. I don't have any tattoos right now, so that's where we're approaching this question from.
Yeah, so like, there's more that I there's always more that I want. It's very hard for me to commit to something because I feel like in my what I want in my brain, and then making the arrangements to get it, I feel like I never do that final step of following through.
Yeah.
But on my person, I have I'm gonna call it an Astralex, but to the plebeians out there, like the Jimmy Neutron logo, we'll call it, or the atoms that spin around during like the Big Bang Theory intro.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like that. But what my favorite band, Strung Out, used it as a logo and still uses it as a logo. So like it's actually like a band tattoo. But more times than not, when people see it, they go, "Oh, Jimmy Neutron, ha ha ha," or make a Big Bang joke. So that one's kind of ruined by pop culture. I also have a Navy anchor, which which was for my grandfather who was in the Navy. So I got that to like match him. And then I have a pair of seamstress scissors because my grandmother's a seamstress. So that one's for her. So basically, like, I have one tattoo for me and I have a bunch of familial things.
Yeah.
So I would lean towards getting more familial things probably before anything else.
Yeah, I mean that's my actual real answer as well. And I don't have any tattoos, but it's mostly because of the, failure to actually follow through on like, going and talking to a tattoo artist and booking time and all that stuff. And also tattoos are expensive, but I have a couple tattoo ideas of things that I would like to get at some point. Um one of them, so my mom and my grandma both have like bird related names without doxing them too hard. So I want to get a bird tattoo, kind of like to represent both of them, but it would be sort of like it would just be pictures of birds, but I would know it's for them, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a tattoo idea I have that's like half Wonder Years, half sort of like representing pandemic depression that I want to do at some point. That is, I spent this year as a ghost, basically would be the vibe.
See,
Uh
I like that one too because I like that album. I like those lyrics.
yeah, same.
But
So
like a lot of people have the ghost,
they
and
do, yeah.
that keeps me. I'm in that weird stage of like I'm sure I could find more people that have one, and it's like a weird bonding thing. But I feel like that's not as it's not as original coming from the person that got a tattoo of a band logo. So I recognize what I'm saying while I say it, but like,
No, I'm with you. I also had those same thoughts about that. Like a lot of people have done that one, but I also really like it, and it also is very meaningful to me in the same way. So I don't know that one I'm torn on for that same reason. I want to try to figure out maybe a more unique way to do it, but that and there's a couple other that are kind of band related. I think because like I sort of came up through like the punk scene and listening to punk music and stuff. Like tattoos in my head shouldn't be jokes. And I feel like a lot of people get like nerdy joke tattoos, and I think tattoos should be more meaningful or like, a little bit more like heart on your sleeve type things. So yeah, I don't think I'd actually get a tokusatsu tattoo unless it was like something that like was really deeply meaningful for me. Um but you know, I could see like if a series meant a lot to me, which there are some that do, I could see getting just like a little bit of an abstract version of like the helmet or something. So like not everyone would recognize it, but if you know, you know. I could see doing something like that.
As we talk about it, I feel like I want to get a whited out Hopper tattoo now. So when people ask me about it, I can just laugh and laugh and retell the story of the day Hopper died.
You should get one of those tattoos where it's like you can't really see it unless you're under black light, and then it pops up, but it's just Hopper, so it just looks like he's like irradiated and dying. Now that's a tattoo. Yeah. I had a funny knuckle tattoo idea a while back, but I can't remember what I was gonna get on it, but at one point I was trying to convince my wife that I should get knuckle tattoos as my first tattoo because that's just funny in and of itself.
You
Like
should get a
just
giant skull on your neck
yeah.
as a businessman.
Listen, if I wanna get my brand over, this is the way that I can do it. I'm gonna get Cody Rhodes's tattoo on the side of my neck.
Oh, so like the last tattoo idea I landed on, and this is not original, but I like the concept. A lot of people get the waveforms of people saying words to them
Yeah, I've seen
and
that.
tattooing the waveform. And I really like that idea. My issue with that, because my brain goes too hard, too far, it like I feel like I would want the waveform tattoo to be the correct audio. And that seems near impossible to do because I know there's apps and stuff where you can scan it and it makes noises. So I feel like I would have to know if it was right. And if it wasn't right, it would bother me. And then I feel like there's people that if you would tell, like, oh, it's the audio thing of like my dad saying something or my grandmother saying something, they would want to scan it. And then it starts a weird thing of being like, no. And then
Yeah.
have an argument about your tattoo. And that like the questions would bother me more. Like the funny part, the funny thing that happens to me now is a lot of people when they don't know me, but they know me enough that like we're having conversations and stuff. A lot of people say, "Oh, you have scissors. Are you a barber?" And like that's questions A funny to me because I'm bald, but B because like sure I see where that starts, and then like I explain the tattoo. I had a conversation with a person, and they're like, "Oh, that's so nice. That's sweet. Oh, that's an awesome idea. That's great." And it's funny because like there's a coworker I had who thought it was a stupid tattoo until I told him, and then was like, "Oh, that's freaking sick! Like I'm completely with you on blah blah blah." And then when other people would ask me about it, they would make a joke, and he would actually get mad in a way that I never got mad and be like, he would always be like, make him sound like an asshole. He's like, tell him what's for, tell him what's for, and get all excited about it. And like, there's a weird conversation starter sometimes. And like the audio thing specifically would bother me because if it wasn't right, it would like bug the shit out of me. And I would never actually want to know. But I know people would ask and would want to know. And I don't want to go down that road. And then
Yeah.
this is how my brain works. My brain is a nightmare.
I always liked so CM Punk has the Pepsi tattoo, right? And that is a reference to someone who has a Coke tattoo. I'm trying to remember who it is. It's one of the punk musicians. Let me Google do it real quick. But CM Punk, like when people would ask why he has a Coca-Cola tattoo, like he could explain like, "Hey, I'm straight edge" or whatever, and like explain like that it's actually meaningful for that reason. But I believe he always just answers, like, "Oh yeah, I just like Pepsi."
See, I always thought that one was because his finisher was called the Pepsi Plunge at one point as
Well,
well.
yeah, that's all named that I think because he had the tattoo.
Okay.
So I think the tattoo came first, and I think it's him copying. Again, I don't know who the musician is, but there's a musician that has a Coca-Cola tattoo because all of his friends were getting like beer tattoos, right? Like, oh, I got a cool Bud tattoo, and like kind of as a joke, he got a Coca-Cola tattoo because he was straight edge, and then Punk got a Pepsi tattoo. That kind of is a reference to that. But that's a funny one where it's like kind of a meaningful tattoo, but your answer is just sort of like the surface level of it. Um, and then there's a Magic player that I know who got the art of a magic card as a tattoo.
Like
That
just
mag
the art without the flavor text, words,
Right. Yeah.
borders.
Yeah, exactly. Just the art. The card is Ponder, I believe, is the card. So, like, the art he got is, like, it's, like, kind of like planets and celestial looking and very pretty. There's other art for that card throughout the history of Magic, and whenever he plays that card, he plays a different version of that art, and then we'll talk about how that's his favorite art, even though he's got the other version tattooed on his arm,
That's
which is
awesome.
a very funny joke if you ever connect it, right? It's like, that's hilarious. So I like that aspect of, like, being silly about your tattoos. I think that's fun. But yeah, tattoo freaks over here. That's what we are, I guess.
Yeah. Tat us up.
We're gonna get
Tatoba,
teardrops
Tatoba.
for every episode of O's we watch. We're just gonna get another teardrop tattoo.
That's too real.
All right, Toby, let's jump over and talk about some Kamen Rider. We do ostensibly do that on this podcast.
See, this is what happens. I haven't talked to Josh for a while, and then we just gab. We're like the old people in the diner
We
catching up
really are. Yeah.
Monday for dinner.
We also started talking like a good half hour before we started recording, and then we still have a lot to gab about too. So that's okay. Today we're going to talk about, though, in terms of Kamen Rider Toby, we're going to talk about Gavv episodes 23 and 24. Which, listen, I'll put it on Front Street here right at the beginning. Maybe two of my favorite episodes of this series so far. It feels like it's all sort of like coming together in these two episodes.
They they. I mean, we've joked many times. These two go together, mixed with a little bit of like the ending of 22
Yeah.
in the best way possible. We're like, I think that the fact that we missed a week didn't actually like throw it off too bad, because these two episodes actually feel like one big one more so than like other times.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, obviously they're doing like a two-parter here, but the way that Gavv does two-parters is very seamless. Yeah, it feels as if you are watching one continuous episode rather than like, two distinct chunks. And I appreciate that they do that. And even though this is kind of a two-parter, like you said, like, we have episode 22 ending bleeding directly into the beginning of 23. So it feels a bit more continuous than like the way Gotchard would do two-parter episodes. So yeah, the thing we open here in episode 23 is we get Shoma's explanation of what he remembers of Honto's mom. And this gets very dark very fast because his memory basically is that he encounters Honto's mom. She tries to help him in the stomach facility. She ends up realizing that he is actually a member of the stomach family. She gets caught by the stomach family and she gets disintegrated in a vat of acid, basically, more or less is what's happening there.
Jumped right into the goo, because
And
as we found out, those were the old days before they had better methods of turning people into candy. Like they
yeah,
didn't they like and even like that was kind of fun to have. Like we never actually had to see how they got dissolved and turned into candy necessarily, but all the people that were going to be turned into dark infections were just kind of like strapped down to medical gurneys.
yep.
And they even make a comment like, we need to find a better way to do this because people keep escaping when we just tie them down.
Yeah.
So that's like the subtle subtext ish of sorts of, hey, this is why they get turned into acrylic now and wrapped with little bows because they can't get away this way.
Yeah, it's way easier to store our ingredients. The ingredients just happen to be people. One of the darker scenes I think I've ever seen in a mainstream tokusatsu show. Obviously, there's some very dark toku shows out there that are aimed for adults, but in like a Kamen Rider Sentai, this was pretty darn dark. Where you actually get to see the mom's face kind of like disintegrate a little bit as she freezes in place.
I thought it was actually like fun or funny isn't really the right word per se. But so basically like little Shoma's running around in the thing. Like when Honto's mom tries to save him, the agents are like, yo, little red Gavv, get back over here. You're not supposed to be down here. And she's just like, wait, I thought you escaped. And he's like, no, what do you mean? And it's
Yeah,
just like, it's just a funny thing where she saved him, and great TV trope plot twist, whatever. Like if she wouldn't have stopped to save him, she probably would have been fine because she didn't realize that like he just belonged there and he wasn't really like escaping, he was just hanging out. And it wasn't the actual like nefarious thing that usually happens of like, oh, I kept you here, ha ha ha, I actually work here. He was just a dumb kid that was hiding, and Honto's mom tried to help him.
Yep. I thought it was really cool too that like she leads him back to that area to try to find his mom, and like there's the empty bed, which is clearly the one that she got up out of, right? So it's like she walks him back to where she escaped from just to try to help him, and then yeah, ends up getting killed for it, which is very sad. But that moment where she realizes that he is not who that she thinks she is, that could be like the basis of a horror movie twist in a different show, right? The like, oh, I thought that like you were my ally, I thought I was helping you, but suddenly like you're the enemy is a cool moment. But yeah, he's just a dumb kid and doesn't really know what he's doing. And this is clearly also his sort of awakening in how evil his family is as well, as he watches this woman get murdered in front of his very eyes.
And right into the go.
Yeah. So naturally, Shoma, confesses this whole story, which is good. I'm glad that he tells Honto and doesn't keep it from him. But also naturally, Honto is a little emotional about that. But he explains, hey, I expected this was what had happened. I'd prepared myself for this, but like I just need space for you right now. Essentially, like I can't really look at you, but I know it's not your fault. But I also just need to not be around you.
I was excited because starting last week ish and going forward now, they do a real good job of like Honto used to freak out and scream, and like Honto had his, oh my god, I always knew my mom died. Like I never knew the specifics, but I assume so, and like having a meltdown. And Trump is like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And Honto just says like, no, like I know it wasn't you, nor was it your fault. He's like, but I'm just processing some shit right now. Like leave me the hell alone.
Yeah,
But it wasn't like a fight. It was just like a normal emotional reaction that people would have. And
yeah.
they're just doing all the conversations between the main three people are always just like actual adult conversations from kids, and they always do a good job of like, more so now, of just talking out the issues and getting to the bottom of it versus just yelling at each other, fighting, running away, blah blah.
It is crazy the growth that they've shown in these characters in that regard. Yeah, like Honto being kind of a hothead at the beginning, and then like I praised it when it happened, but the talking out that he did of just like, no, listen, like he's hasn't lied to me up until now. I should give him the benefit of the doubt, like that whole thing. And clearly now with this, it's like yeah, he is a changed person. He's a little bit calmer, but still needs a space. And we've seen it with Shoma as well. Excuse me, we've seen it even with like Lakia and with Sachika. Like they all have kind of grown in like realistic ways as the show has gone on, which is very good writing. When Honto leaves, he goes to meet with Suga, who he is skeptical of Suga and kind of has been from the very beginning. But Suga gives him a box of chocolate gochizos and kind of tells him like, "Hey, I've been working on these. You can't always rely on Shoma for your gochizos, right?" And as he's leaving, he tells him like, "Hey, these might be a little bit more bitter than you're used to, but I think you'll love them."
Like they're doing a real good job still of Suga's just so creepy, and obviously I think Honto's playing games ish of wanting to get more inside information, kind of like, I know I don't trust you, but I still need to come back here. So they're setting up a good angle with that. I feel like of those two going forward having some sort of a battly moment together.
Yeah, I was surprised that Honto went back because Honto has been very like anti Suga, really, for the most part, right? Has like really not trusted him. But I guess he did that like stare in his face move pretty recently where he like decided that he was telling the truth. So maybe that has, opened him up a bit more to to Suga's advances. But yeah, I think they're gonna have a collision course for sure at some point, especially after what these Gochizos seem to be doing to Honto, which is kind of what goes into the next episode as well. But they clearly have sort of a dark influence over him. And clearly, the more he uses them, the more evil and against Shoma he's going to become, is I think what they're alluding to.
Yeah, I mean, like basically, he's going to turn into a bitter person,
Yeah.
more so than he possibly is now, and everything else. So I know they're setting up for it. It feels weird that they already have Dark Shoma. They are now setting up Dark Honto, and Loggy9 has a good Shizo that stabs him in the heart every time he uses it. So it seems like they're doing a lot of evilness with all the main characters on the side. And I
Yeah.
feel like you only can run like the dark angle one time. And it seems like they're setting it for 3 of them, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know if the Login 9 one is heading in that direction or not. I can't really tell with that yet, but certainly the other two. It's the saving grace is like they have the same source. Like they're both dark, bitter versions of the characters that Suga created. Like obviously he's cloning Shoma, but he's just manipulating Honto. But he's the creator of kind of all the bitter versions. So like
Yeah, that is true.
yeah. Yeah. So like really they're setting up this like scenario where yes, the Stomach family is evil and they're doing this evil thing, but like the villain who's actually kind of like directly against our heroes for a while is going to be Suga at some point, right? Like we're going to realize that he created the bitter Shomas and he created, the horrible bitter Gochizos for Honto. And he's the big threat. Like the Stomach family exists, but he's the one who like actively is opposing them. But he continues to work in the background at this point, basically. And then Shoma decides it's time to go home and talk to Sachika and tell her everything. So we get picked up at the end of this conversation. Basically, he's spilled his guts to her, and you don't really know how she's going to react. At first, she stands up and she's like, "What hellhole did you come out of?" But then turns out she's being like, "That would treat you this way,"
No,
and she is.
so only because of the way she's been all the other times.
Uh-huh.
Even when because like she prefaced that question with like, I don't want to sound mean to you, but I
Yeah,
have to ask you a question. And she already had like a look on her face where I could just like, you could just sense it wasn't going to be like mean. It was just going to be like a weird thing.
yeah,
But like, I almost took it as like, I mean, cause she's like, what the hellhole did you come out of? Like you said, and it was hilarious. Cause like, she didn't even really mean it. Like she wasn't saying it to be rude. She's just like, seriously, like, where the hell did you grow up? Kind of thing.
yeah,
And it's probably easier for us to like do both episodes together, which is kind of
sure,
cheating when we do these, but that's fine. Like for 23 and 24, I said it a couple weeks ago when I was like, she's definitely the best friend you could ever ask for and everything else. Like her whole attitude towards Shoma, starting now, even and like into the next episode is, no, like I knew you were weird. At one point, she's like, so Honto's one of you too, right? And like she sussed it out because Honto also acts weird. But basically, Sachika's like, yeah, I really don't give a shit. She's like, what do you want to do here? And one of the 2 episodes, Shoma is like, this world's important to me, so I just want to stay here and keep helping you make people happy. And
hmm
she's like, yep, all I care about. Let's go have fun. And like, she literally like does not care whatsoever that he's a weird little alien from outer space. She just all she sees is like her friend that helps her, and that's all she wants out of him. And it's just like an amazing friendship. And towards the end of 24, she does the mom thing again, where Shoma keeps getting his ass kicked, and she like tries to stop him, like, "No, you're too weak. You're too weak." And he's like, "No, I have to go fight though. I can't help it." So she sneaks out with him, finds him. She brings like a giant spatula sword, tries to fight a monster with him because she's that ride or die with her friends. They kind of like deflect it off, and she's like, "Do you not feel good? Are you sad?" And he's like, "I just don't know what to do." And she goes, "I have an idea." She gives him ice cream and goes, "This is because you feel sad." And the ice cream fixes everything. He has a flashback to his mom saying ice cream fixes everything. And then he gets like the ultimate coolest, no pun intended, Kamen Rider form I think I've seen in the series. I think it's one of my favorites overall because it looks so good.
yeah,
But she helps him turn into like Ice Cream Rider. It's like Blizzard. sorbet or sherbet or something like that.
Yeah, I forget the actual name, but yeah, it's
He
the
gets
ice cream based one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now her love for him gave him cake form. Her
Yep.
concern for him gave him ice cream form. So like all the cool fancy cheeses she's helping him make.
That's
Like
very true. I hadn't connected that, but that's a good point.
yeah, the ice cream cheese looks so rad. It looks like the Transformers Happy Meals toys you and I talked about,
It does, yeah.
where it's like a giant ice cream cone. I think I actually want to own that Gachiza. But like more so than that, at one point, I think it was during the ice cream fight, Shoma was like, or Sachika's like, hey, can I see what happens when you actually make the Gachizas? I think it was the ice cream one. But it was like this really weird, like intimate, awkward conversation where like he unzips his belly. Oh, it was during this
It's when she first
conversation.
tells him,
Yeah.
when he first tells her, yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, can I actually see what happens? And he goes, sure, I guess. So he eats a sweet. We actually see his stomach pop out like a little orb and the Gochiza comes out. And it clicked to me, like we've never actually seen him make Gochizas. We always laugh because it looks like he's pooping them out. But I think that's actually the first time too that we saw him make a Gochiza. And it's just like a funny,
Well,
intimate thing to watch.
the first time that she wants to see it, he's constipated again. It won't come out, I think, right? And then later he makes the ice cream one.
No, I think the constipation was like none were coming out when they're having the candy party.
Right.
But he was like, this feels weird. But she didn't know. She didn't know or see it then, or maybe she
No,
knew.
no, there's a point when he's telling her and he acts all awkward because nothing happens and he like puts it away like he's like as if he like had erectile dysfunction or something. There's a moment where he was like, "Oh, well, okay, sorry." And then he kind of explains like, "Oh, I haven't been feeling well lately." And that's when she goes into extra mom mode and then eventually figures out that it's actually like his relationship with Honto that's causing the problem. But there's a moment somewhere here where he fails to perform in the Gochizo department, and she's like, "Oh, okay, we'll make sure you get taken care of here."
But yeah, so
Wow.
like overall, I said it the other week. I'm gonna say it again now. I think she is the friend that I would hope I am to others. And she is like the dream friend that everyone should want to have. Where like no
Yeah.
matter what, she's just like, no, we're doing this. Like, I got you. Like, we're cool. Like, whatever. Let's just go. We got
Yeah,
this.
she is the like ride or die, down with anything, like, "I got your back, we're good," friend. She's exactly, yeah, what you would want to have and what you would hope that you are to people as well. And I think the parallels to Shoma's mom that they make with her is very telling because she's basically his surrogate mom at this
I've been
point.
saying that for weeks, if not
Yeah.
months.
And they hammer it home in these 2 episodes because like you said, like, she gives him the ice cream, he remembers his mom talking about, "Hey, ice cream heals you, it makes you feel better when you have aches and pains and your body hurts," and she kinda says the same thing. It was like he's like, "Oh, but I haven't feeling good," and she's like, "Yeah, but you can always eat ice cream when you don't feel good," and, like, it's, very cool that they're kinda connecting those dots between the 2 of them because that's actually the role that she's, playing with him, and I think that that's cool that they're making that illusion. But yeah, she from the jump here is just the most ride or die friend, down with anything, and it's so heartwarming. It's like it's what we kinda knew she would be sort of from her character and, like, getting to actually finally see it happen, where you have that build up to, like, he's gonna tell her, finally getting to that and having her react, like, so over the top positive, and even to the point where she's like, "Okay, yeah, like, I can't believe you turned out as good as you did, like, you're awesome. I'm sorry you had to go through all that. Nothing's gonna change between us if you don't want it to, but the only difference is now I'm gonna be helping you."
Yeah. And it's funny
Um,
because she basically says, like, I'm gonna go fight too. And he's like, no,
yeah,
no, no, it doesn't work like that. So like that tied into like her bringing the spatula when she was like, oh, he's definitely doomed. She did great work where when she realized like she obviously can't fight monsters necessarily, she had the great idea of, well, if I take pictures of Shoma Henshin fighting the evil Shoma, I can at least be like, because she goes on Twitter the whole time,
yeah,
and she's like, well, I can just at least post pictures of like wow, look, the good Master Rider is beating up the evil one. Or, hey, look, this guy's doing nice things. It must suck when you have someone that looks like you and does bad stuff, huh? Ha ha ha, internet. So, like, she's doing the best that a human can do of, like, doing damage control for her best buddy of, okay, I can't really fight for you. I can't tell anybody who you are, but I can at least, like, go against the trolls on Twitter that are trying to put you down and at least try to stand up for you a little bit.
Yeah, the fact that she's doing, like, post by post positive PR for Shoma as, like, her best friend fight that she can do is, again, the most adorable, heartwarming thing that you can imagine. Like, it's the thing that, like, you as a person probably have wanted to do on Twitter before, right? Like, I wish I could just tell all these people that they're wrong about this. Like, I just want to do it. And then, like, that's her fight that she's, like, saddling herself with, and it's so cute. It's so adorable. I love it.
And then,
I Go ahead.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and then like the last two little things about Toby's Sachika hour here is when she gets to watch everyone henshin back and forth during the fight. Her facial reactions for the whole thing are like amazing because she just gets so excited and she's like, "Holy shit, that's not." She doesn't curse like I do, but she's like, "Holy shit, that's real. This is actually happening. Like this is the coolest thing ever." And at some point, Loggy Nine comes to visit everyone in their little happy home, and he makes some comment of like, "Yeah, this place is entirely too colorful," and says like, "Oh, this is nonsense, whatever." And she doesn't care. She gets in his face, and she's like, "I don't care if you like it or not. Who do you think you're talking to?" And like pokes him in the chest. And even knowing that like he's also a scary monster guy that's kind of hanging out but not really, like she doesn't care. She's like, "No, this is my house. Like, go fuck yourself."
That scene was amazing. One of my favorite scenes in the show so far was that scene. I think my favorite scene in the show so far is her fighting the monster, her showing up with her spatula trying to fight the monster. That was incredible. But the scene in the house where she, pokes fun about her interior decorating is so good. And it's one of those rare instances where the language barrier doesn't hinder her tone at all, because she puts on a, like, "What's it to you? You think you're a big man who can just come in here and talk about my interior decorating?" And she has this playful tone to her voice where she's not being serious, and that comes across perfectly in her delivery of the lines, even though I don't speak I don't speak the language. Very, very good. Like, it was a great acting moment, and, like, she's instantly buddy buddy with him, which again is so wonderful, and it's it's one of those feelings of just like, all of my toys are playing nice together. Like, it makes me feel so warm and fuzzy when these characters that I love are now finally, like, meeting and getting along. And if only Honto was there. That's what I kept thinking. It was like, man, we've almost got all the pieces together. We just need Honto to be in the fold now.
Yes, I just double checked the thing. Like he says, Lagadine says, "This place hurts my eyes," and she's like, "You have a problem with my decorating, punk?" And she hits him
Yeah.
in his face, like she looks mad, and he says, "Aren't you afraid of me? Aren't you afraid of me? I'm a granute." And she just goes, "What of it?" and gets closer in his face, and then starts laughing and goes, "Well, you're with Deliciosa, so ha ha ha, this is funny."
Yeah. Like,
But no fucks given. She's got right in there.
yeah, she's great. Yeah, best television character in memory for sure. There's a lot of other stuff happening in episode 23 and 24 here as well with the other characters. One of the big plot lines is with Honto. Of course, he's not with Shoma right now. He's taking some space of his own. So he goes out and he has dinner with a friend of his, um, a friend of who's been recently laid off. So they have a nice meal, and basically, long story short, the restaurant owner, who turns out to be a Granute, works with Honto's friend to set him up. And the monster is an octopus monster, Toby, the Granute. So Honto
The
gets
time has
covered.
finally come.
Yeah. Honto gets covered in octopus ink, squid ink, whatever. And yeah, he's nearly down for the count because of the subterfuge of his nefarious buddy. I really enjoyed the Granute shop owner monster guy. I thought he was pretty great, and I thought that he looked very cool once he actually, like, went to Granute form. I liked his little suit.
I was excited that the restaurant that we're at, they were cooking. what I'm gonna just guess what they were cooking. So they're cooking little slabs of meat, but it looked like I'm gonna pretend they were cooking little slabs of tripe, like chewy, tough beef. And I'm only going to pretend that because there's a whole speech in one of the Yakuza games about the only way tripe is good is when you burn the shit out of it, as a metaphor of like all the flavor in tripe comes out when you when it's like charred and you burn all the grease and all the disgusting fat out of it. And then when you eat like plain tripe, it's like, oh, it's gross, not really meat. And the whole metaphor is like you need to get burnt in life. You need to toughen up for like there
Oh
to be
yeah.
actual growth and flavor in life and everything else. So I was just entertained by that of like, hey, they should burn that and then it tastes better. I learned that from Majima.
That's interesting. Which is really what happens here with Honto. You know, he's like down for the count, and suddenly his new Gochizo comes to save him. And we get a look at a new Honto form, which really isn't that different than his regular form, I feel like.
So there's at one point, this is a really random reference. At one point, the military started going to a style of camouflage called digital camouflage.
Yeah.
And all that really means is instead of like the soft, blurry curves that camo used to be, it's more boxy and like pixelated, like AKA digital. And all I could think of Valen's new form is it looks more like the digital camouflage version of the normal chocolate outfit.
Yeah, that's a really great reference. Yeah, the like digital camo look on the white chocolate squares is yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Honto, of course, I'll say is like kind of fighting dirty from the very beginning. Like the influence of the Gochizo seems apparent. And in this fight with the octopus guy, Honto ends up like he ends up killing him like execution style, basically.
That was
He
the best
like
part for me.
he like whips him into a wall, shoves his head through the wall, and then from the other side, basically just puts his gun point blank to his skull and just blows him away. And you get to see the big giant explosion. He's left with like one octopus tentacle in his arm that he crushes with his hand at the end there. It was like, holy shit, Honto did not come to mess around. So it was cool seeing that version of Honto. Obviously, we know where it's leading and it's nowhere good, but like Honto can take care of business when he needs to.
Like it only, I guess it's where it has to go. But again, I feel like the double Dark Rider thing kind of seems silly to like have two of
Yep.
them going at the same time. I feel like if they were going to make evil Honto form, that should have started. If I was going to like rearrange the episodes, I feel like that should have started before Shoma told him everything, and that was like his secret issue, like from episodes like 18 to 21 or somewhere in there, more so than having Dark Shoma and now Honto getting pissed off at everything.
Yeah. And who knows, they might serve us too. Like, I mean, they're pretty good at, at plotting a storyline here. So yeah, we might not see fully, you know, evil dark Honto. Who knows what'll happen? But yeah, it could have been interesting if that had been happening earlier, such that he was under the effect of Suga when Shoma finally confesses everything. So then he doesn't basically accept the apology, even though real Honto would. Like that could have been an interesting twist on everything.
Another
Um,
thing about with Dark Shoma, they made a reference of like, wow, this one's even stronger than last time. So that confirms my guess from a week or two ago when I said he's like the monster from The Incredibles, where like a couple Incredibles beat Syndrome's little robot thing, and then he makes a 2.0 and a 3.0.
yep.
So obviously that's what they're going to do for a little bit, where every time they happen to defeat a Dark Shoma, a new revision of Dark Shoma will be coming back again, at least for a
Yeah.
little bit, it seems like.
Yeah, they full on confirmed that there are multiple dark Shomas. And yeah, it sounded like they actually are multiple at a time, even to me. That maybe there's others out there at the same time. It's not like he's just creating one at a time. But yeah, either way I watched that, I'm like, yep, Toby called it. That's exactly what's going on here. So yeah, the part of the fight that we saw here was Lakia and Shoma had to head out to fight the bitter version of Shoma, which was a pretty fun little good fight. And we also get some awesome scenes here. where Shoma takes Lakia to meet Uncle Dente. And we get a bit more of the backstory of the Stomach family and Dente himself. So we find out about Shoma's grandfather who started the Stomach family. Originally, they were just a regular candy company, and Dente was making their candy until finally one day the grandfather brought this special ingredient to Dente that he claimed was from another world and told him to make a confection out of it. And then that was the beginning of the dark confections. He kept pushing him to make it more and more addictive, and that's what he ended up taking over the world with. And then Dente eventually was just like, you know what? I think I just want to go to Earth. I think I'm over all this, and that's how he ended up back on Earth.
He knew he
But
fucked up.
what's that?
See, he knew he fucked up.
He
Deep
knew.
down, he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, they used my Willy Wonka powers for evil and not for good. I should be ashamed."
And I thought in episode 23, I'm like, he's not really showing a lot of remorse for the part that he knows he played in all this. Like he still is kind of is sort of like, yeah, whatever it happened. Like I decided I was leaving, so it doesn't really matter. But in episode 24, Lakia comes back to kill him, which I think is awesome, right? Like and being like, oh yeah, I forgot to leave you in the ground or whatever he says. And Lakia is about to kill him, but then Dente sort of like says, "Yep, I had it coming. You're right. I played my part in this. This is my fate. Hopefully, you just continue to help Shoma." And he kind of has this like big speech about doing the right thing and helping Shoma and all this. So Lakia decides to let him live, and then there's an awesome scene later where he's sitting, kind of thinking. He's like, "Damn, Shoma had it figured out. Like, he let him live because he knew he would be useful, and he didn't kill him even though he probably wanted to." Like, I like that we've had a couple of those scenes now where he realizes that Shoma is actually smarter than Shoma lets on, and he's like, "Damn, I guess I gotta do what the kid's doing."
Yes, a couple times now where, like a couple weeks ago, it was, oh wait, like Shoma actually walks around and investigates and tries
Yeah,
to find stuff. Like that's what he was doing the whole time. Oh, that makes sense. Like everyone just thinks Shoma is the lovable dopey dog. They don't realize that inside he actually has a brain.
yeah.
That
I
is
lo
his curse.
And it's so much fun that they're showing us those moments where he's coming to those realizations and just like, yeah, I guess. All right. Props to the kid. Fine. But yeah, that sort of like ties all the various characters in there. And man, Honto needs to find better friends, I think. Is what I'm learning from these episodes.
I get well,
Uh
so like at least to that specific statement, I guess he can't help the one he has because I mean, Suga made him a monster basically. I don't think he has many other people he can go to for the monster problem
True.
necessarily.
That is true. And then yes, of course, you mentioned it. The ice cream version of Shoma, of ice cream version of Gavv, should not work as well as it does, but holy crap, is it awesome. Like I don't know how they keep pulling it off where they take these goofy concepts of like candy Kamen Riders and make them look so freaking cool. But they're doing it. And then this one is no exception. It looks awesome. I love the colors. I love the little Gochizo and he spins it and hits a jackpot. Like everything's cool about it.
Yeah,
And it's just he's got ice cream cones on his shoulder and everywhere. It's just like this is insane that this works so well.
it took a little bit for me to realize that it was like kind of like the slot machine
A little bit, yeah.
belt that was in
And Geets,
Geeks. Yeah.
yeah.
Cause like he kept turning like there's like three pieces of the cone on his belt or his stomach, whatever you want to call it. And like it seemed like the first piece broke. So we turned to the second piece. And after we turned to the third one, it was like, jackpot, win a spin. Or he was like, oh, I can spin this. And like it did like a super powerful thing. I do think it's cool. Again, no pun intended. That like since it's ice cream and it's cold, like the weakness of that form is it just melts eventually. Cause like he won the fight basically.
Yeah.
And then like he dehensioned and he was like, oh, it melted. Or oh, I melted or something along those lines. So I think it's awesome that like there's at least a weakness tied to it of, yeah, if you're gonna be ice cream out in the sun, like, by the way, like it might disappear now. You have to
Agreed.
watch the power kind of deal. Much like Lagi's jellyfish stingers to the heart, but it's not as aggressive.
Yeah, it's one thing that like power up forms in Kamen Rider fail at a lot of times is like as they get bigger and bigger forms, there are no downsides. So it's like, well, why wouldn't I always be instead of the regular form of myself? And I like when when there's at least a give and a take where you're going to use more energy, you're going to get tired faster. Even something that simple is good for a reason to not always just be in the better form.
Yeah.
Very cool. But yeah, what a great couple episodes. What an awesome character in Sachika. I love how they're weaving it all together. These two episodes were just like so much fun coming back to it. Really enjoyed watching both of them. All right. Toby, we do have some emails this week, but I think we're going to skip those since we're going a little long this time, and we'll catch up on the emails for next time. So yeah, if you sent us in an email, don't worry, we'll get to them. But if you would like to send an email in the meantime, it is cast@commonwritersucks.com is the email address. Once again, cast@commonwritersucks.com. And of course, eggs are expensive. We do need those $3. So check out the Patreon, patreon.com/thecommentwriters, where we are always watching something and reacting to it. And you can watch along with us. You get access to the Discord and all the fun perks that go along with that. It's a great value, $3 a month, and you get access to all of our back catalog of nonsense. All right. So I think that's going to bring us then to the end. Toby, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
On X the Everything app, it's which one is it, Josh?
Life of Tobes.
Life of Tobes. I don't know why I forgot that all of a sudden. On X the Everything app, it's Life of Tobes. On YouTube, it's Tobes Plays. And on Retro Achievements, where I'm a scant like 2 achievements away from being the top 4% of the website, it's Tobes Plays as well.
And I'm on Blue Sky at meek.lol. I'm no longer on X the Everything app, but I apparently still know Toby's handle over there for some reason. And you can find the show on Blue Sky as well at commonwritersucks.com. And of course, give the show a follow on YouTube. You can find it at youtube.com/prettydece, or just search for the Comment Writers. You can find it there too. And any liking or following or subscribing or reviewing that you do on whatever platform that you listen to the show on would be greatly appreciated. The more you do that, the more eyes get on the show, and the more people listen to us, and the more eggs we get to buy, which is important because we need eggs. We always need more eggs.
Always.
So please continue to do that stuff. And yeah, you guys are awesome. So we will be back next week to talk more Kamen Rider Gavv. We'll be talking about episode 25 at that point. We hope you join us back for that. And until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.